Can I tell you a secret?
Hey y'all, welcome to Unbottled Secrets, the podcast where my truth becomes your entertainment. I'm Fakira. The deeper I get into my faith, the more sensitive I have become to things that was my norm before Christ. Whether it's the music I listen to, the shows I watch, my environment, and even my thoughts. Why am I saying this? Because I believe that God has officially upgraded me from the season of isolation to the season of refining. And during this time, He is bringing to the surface things that I've either repressed or didn't realize was taking so much of my time, my energy, or quite frankly, He is dismantling those idols. And I feel a call to introspectively reevaluate myself. And for someone who largely lives in her head, like rent free, like takes up so much real estate, there's a lot to unpack. But one thing in particular I want to address in this episode is being unsatisfied with my current season or circumstances. But before we get into all of that, we got to set the atmosphere with a Bible verse. Today's reading is taken from Hebrews chapter 13, verses 5 through 6. Lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say in confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" Living in a capitalistic society, especially in the age of social media, because I can only speak for myself, feel the urge to strive to the next level. And then once I strive to that level, I want to go to the next level. And then the next level after that until what? Fatigue? It's this detrimental cycle of comparison, which I definitely want to touch more in depth in a later episode. But this cycle, it sucks because looking at my life now, right? I'm 28. I feel as though I'm supposed to already be married with kids by now. I'm supposed to be making a certain amount of money, at least way more than what I'm making right now. I am supposed to live in a particular place. I'm supposed to be ahead. Instead, I am behind. Which, in retrospect, it is a little funny. It's funny because I'm from a small city in Florida called Haines City. You probably never heard of it. And when I was living there, the only prayer I had was to get out of Haines City. And God did just that. Since 18, I have not been back long term. I did spend some time there during the pandemic, but living there, having a place there, paying bills there, no, I have not been there. So, on one token, I'm living out one of my prayers. On the other, I just want more. And that's the problem. Accomplishing these milestones you've been chasing only satisfies you for a moment. Then you're off to the next obsession. For me, it was getting out of Haines City. Then it was graduating from college. Then it was graduating from grad school. Then it was getting a job that paid more than $15 an hour. Then it was getting a nicer apartment. Then it was getting a nicer car. And now it's just finding a job that pays even more. The hamster wheel just never, ever ends. And as I was listening to these sermons, sitting in my small groups, or even browsing through Christian TikToks, I felt God tugging at my heart, asking me, am I not enough? Like, I know you want the high earning job, the vacation, the husband, the family, but am I not enough for you? And truth be told, although the right thing to say was yes, my heart was saying no. And a part of it, aside from fear and not believing God could do it, it was also a mixture of lack, operating from a place of lack, and then operating from a place of greed. It's almost like if you go to a buffet and because there's so many options, you're seeing all of the goodness that other people have on their plates and all of the great things that the buffet has to offer. You become very insatiable. You want to eat every single thing. My grandma always says your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And that's gluttony. We have a gluttonous mentality to what we want in life, right? We want it all. And we won't stop until we get it all. And then we get it, and then we want more. And more. But it never actually satisfies our soul. And that's what I want to touch on today. How to overcome the idol of progression. First things first, you got to get out of your head and get into the word. As cliche as this may sound, you got to spend time with God. Like, truly spend time with Him. That can be in prayer, reading the word, meditating on that word, being in a constant state of worship. It doesn't have to be long, drawn out. It could be spending time with Him in the shower, while you're driving, those moments where you have quiet times. Reading the word could be quite literally taking a scripture or two and then meditating on it, thinking about what it means, also looking up what it means for context. You'd be surprised at how much perspective you'd get by just allowing God to reclaim His time with you. And you know what? it just kind of hit me. A lot of our discontentment is due to us giving the wrong things our time and attention, like our constant time and attention. We are on social media all day, every day, scrolling. Then we're wondering why we don't have because we're comparing. We're daydreaming. We're spending an excessive amount of time. And I'm about to be transparent. And this is definitely going to be a podcast episode because it just blew my mind. But maladaptive dreaming, like I daydream all the time, like more hours than not, I am daydreaming about something, whether that's my wedding. I don't even have a husband, don't even have a fiance, but my wedding, the kids I'm going to have, the vacations we're going to take. I have built up an entire life in my head about what I want. And then when I actually face the day, I don't like what's around me because it's not fitting into the utopia I have created in my head. But we will talk about that on another episode. The goal with getting into the Word and spending time with God is plugging into the source being God, removes those scales of feeling like you're not accomplished. And spending time with God renews you. It brings new perspective, new thinking, peace, joy, because then you realize that, oh, this rat race of success doesn't quite fulfill me like the peace and joy I find in Christ. Like, wow, this is freeing. This is amazing. This is where I need to be. And sometimes you might need to add like some fasting in there just to kind of like deny your flesh. But that, I have a whole fasting episode if you want to listen to that. The next thing you want to do is sit in this season. In other words, be patient. You may not be where you want to be, but God has you in this season for a reason. Appreciate it. Learn from it. Grow in it. My pastor made an excellent point where he was discussing words when he was discussing the creation story and how God in all his power could have created everything all at once, but opted to work in stages and stay in that stage until he deemed the final product was good. It was as if he was giving us the blueprint to apply to our own lives. We tend to want to rush our season, but become ill-equipped for our next. And I'll be transparent again. When I was unemployed during COVID, I was in such a rush to get another job that I ended up picking a job out of desperation instead of sitting in that season of unemployment and figuring out what I was actually passionate about, what I actually wanted to do for the rest of my life or in the time period of whatever, I don't know, what I want to do for work. That I'm now in 2023 still trying to figure out what I'm passionate about because I didn't spend that season of unemployment, that season of like a blank slate to figure out my life instead of rushing into something that now I'm left to do it now. Before we move on to the next point, I'll leave y'all with this. A season you refuse to sit in will be one you'd have to repeat. I'll say that again. A season you refuse to sit in will be one you have to repeat. So instead of worrying about the next, focus on the now. Lastly, practice gratitude. Similar to the last point, we get so caught up in the future that we don't realize how far God has brought us, what situations He protected us from, what blessings He have given us. And as I sit in this season, I am more grateful for the mountains He has moved because it gives me more hope that He'll move the current mountains I'm facing too. Because if He did it before, He will do it again. And y'all, we serve a consistent God. He does not change, He does not lie. So if He could do it before, and I'm talking to myself right now, if He got me out of Haines City, He got me on my next. I'm gonna get all the desires of my heart. Well, the ones that are in His will, of course. I'm not even worried. So if you're having a hard time practicing gratitude, make a list of all the things God did for you this month alone. You'd be surprised at how large of a list it is. And for me, it's as small as just getting home safely every single day on these Houston streets right here. It's a blessing that I get home every single day. But I digress. To round up, a song that resonates with me, especially heavy at this moment, is Satisfied by the Walls Group. And the general gist of the song is basically saying, if nothing I've worked for, hoped for, or even prayed for comes to fruition, I will be satisfied with you, God. And in other words, God, you are enough. Even when I don't feel it, you are enough. And that's it, that's all. And with that being said, that's our show. I hope you gleaned something meaningful from this discussion. If this is your first time listening and you like the vibes, please, 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 please subscribe to the pod. I'd love to have you here. And you know what? Eventually, I'll think of a name for my subbies, but right now, y'all are just the fam. So if you want to join the family, come right on in. We are cool, we are chill, and we love the Lord. And if you're really locked in and there ain't no switching up, follow me on my socials. All information will be in the description of this episode. Share if you care. And until next time.